This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everybody, and thank you to those of you who have decided to join me today. Today, we're going to talk about for home buyers some of the basics of what you would want to consider and know when you are thinking of buying a HUD home. So, a couple things that you would want to take into account. First and foremost, you do need an agent to purchase a HUD home. HUD is one of the few instances where it's required that you have an agent when purchasing a HUD home. You can't just buy it directly from HUD. You have to have an agent represent you. And that is because in order to submit a bid for a HUD home, it's required that you register on their site, HUDHomestar.com. And in order to register on their site, you have to have a real estate license. So that's one of the big differences, I guess, between buying a home and buying a regular home. As we know, a HUD home you can buy from the seller directly, and you don't have to go through an agent, but a HUD home you do have to go through an agent to purchase your home. Another thing to consider is, as a general rule, HUD homes are sold as is, where is, and without faults. Now, what that means is if there's damage to the house, needs to be flooring, needs paint, needs updated, whatever that may be, you're buying the house in the condition that it's in. So HUD will not make any repairs to the property prior to closing in order for you to be able to buy it. So that's definitely what you do as a buyer, have the ability to have an appraisal done on the property, and you do also have a right to have an inspection on the property, but there's no negotiations when it comes to price or condition or kind of concessions or anything like that as a result of the inspection when it comes to a HUD home, which is definitely different than buying a regular home as well. Another thing to consider as well is when it comes to the inspection period. One big thing I want you guys to remember is, again, there are no concessions made to the property as a result of any kind of inspection items that may come up. But the other thing that I want you to remember as well is during the inspection period, there does have to be what we call a utility activation form filled out, which what that is the utilities as a general rule on HUD homes are disconnected. So that means there's no gas, electric, or water to the property. They're already winterized, so nothing is working. So in order to be able to conduct a proper inspection, you do, if you want to have the water, the sewer, the electric or gas turned on, you have to submit a request. Now, with that request, there is a fee of $150 to get the utilities turned on. Now, what I want you to remember is for the utilities to be turned on, there is no guarantee of which utilities HUD will allow you to turn on. In many cases, if HUD knows that there's a leak problem, if they had a issue where they think that there may be a potential leak, if they think the electrical is too old and they didn't fail their initial testing that they had somebody do, if they didn't fail their pressure test when they did a pressure test before listing the property for sale for the water, for the plumbing, there's a very good chance that they will not approve their request to turn those services on. So there's no guarantee that the water, the gas, or the electric will be turned on a HUD home. There's no guarantee that there will be a permission done. So what I want you to do is talk to your realtor and you discuss with them how important it is to you to have all the utilities turned on. Because as I said, there is a chance that either none or all of the utilities might not be able to be turned on in order for you to do your inspection. Now, another thing is when it comes to the inspection period, a buyer does have 15 days from the date that they get the executed contract to inspect the property. Now, that is your opportunity to do as many inspections and whatever kind of inspections you want, whether that be a water testing one, a general inspection, radon test, sewer scope, whatever that may be. You have all that time as a buyer to inspect a property. Now, again, because HUD is different than any other properties, HUD does not extend the inspection deadline. So once those 15 days are up, that's it. Your 15 days are up. You can terminate after that, but you risk losing your earnest money if you object, or terminate prior to after the 15-day inspection deadline time. So definitely something to consider there, and talk to your realtor and make sure that you guys are aware of when the inspection date is. The other thing I want you to remember as well is if you are purchasing a HUD home, it is I will strongly encourage you to hire somebody that is a certified inspector. This is because if you choose to terminate after what is found during the inspection period, or what is found during your inspections, if you choose to terminate as a result of any of those items, HUD will require a letter in writing from you saying what conditions there are that were present that you were not aware of before and why you're terminating. They will also ask to see a full copy of the inspection report from the inspector for their own proof that those conditions did come up and you're not just saying that they came up. Now, this is, of course, why I recommend if you're buying a home that you hire somebody that is a certified inspector. And I say certified because the state of Colorado does not require any kind of licensing for home inspector. So you can find somebody that is a certified home inspector, and that would be who you use. Another thing to talk to your agent about as well when you're talking about inspections on a HUD home is HUD does not allow inspectors to go into the home and inspect themselves without anybody. So your real estate agent will have to be present during the time that the inspector is at the house. The inspector cannot be there alone. So make sure that, once again, you talk to your real estate agent about that and make sure that they are going to be able to be available the day of the inspection so they can be there with the inspector. Another thing that you want to also consider when buying a HUD home is be careful with how much you offer. When you make an offer on a HUD home, HUD typically lists their homes for what we call a competitive price, which may be market value, maybe a little bit under market value. But one important thing to remember is that HUD does have the homes appraised prior to putting them on the market. So if you decide that, say, a house is listed for $150,000 and you decide that you want to offer $170,000, if the house does not appraise for $150,000, you're on the hook for the remainder of the $20,000 because HUD is still going to expect the $170,000 that you offered them, regardless of what your appraisal says. So make sure that when you submit an offer on a HUD home, you do it at a price that not only are you willing to pay, but talk to your real estate agent and make sure that you are both confident that the house will appraise for that price. And if for some reason the house does not appraise for the offer price that you make and there's a discrepancy between the offer price and the list price that HUD has on the home, make sure if there's that discrepancy, if the event that the house does not appraise for that much, make sure that you are going to be able to have the funds to come up with the difference on that, because HUD, again, will be expecting the offer price that you gave them. Otherwise, you would have to terminate the contract and you could risk losing your earnest money if that happens, because there's, again, no guarantees when it comes to getting your earnest money back. Now, again, there is an appraisal period for appraisal, so you do, again, have a right to appraise the property. Now, it is a little bit different for owner occupants. So owner occupants do have the ability to have an inspection period. Now, it does a little bit different when it comes to investors. So if an investor is purchasing the HUD home, then you actually don't have a right to terminate based on the inspection issues. If you are doing any other kind of deal, you can, but there's not a inspection period for investors, only one for owner occupants. So investors, sorry guys, but you really want to make sure you are double checking and thoroughly checking the property if you intend to purchase a HUD home, because if your offer gets accepted, you're kind of on the hook for that. Otherwise, you would risk losing any earnest money that you gave when you submitted the offer. Now, of course, there's lots more that entails. Oh, one more thing that I did want to mention as well is when it comes to earnest money. When you are purchasing a HUD home, HUD does not allow you to deliver earnest money in the form of a personal check. they do require any earnest money to be submitted either in the form of a money order or a cashier's check from the bank. They do not allow personal checks. So definitely make sure you talk to your real estate agent again and find out how much that earnest money is for the property that you are going to be submitting an offer on, if it is a HUD home, and make sure that you have that amount of money available and ready to give in either the form of a money order or a cashier's check to the title company that you, the buyer, chooses, which is another thing that I want to discuss as well, is as a buyer, you are responsible for paying for the title insurance policy. So therefore you, as a buyer, get to choose who the title insurance company is. So definitely make sure that you talk to, again, your real estate agent that is helping you purchase the HUD home and talk to them about what title company you want to use. It is, of course, always encouraged that you use a title company that is not only local to your area because they're going to be familiar with the area. And number two, it is strongly encouraged as well that you use a title company that has prior experience with HUD properties. That's because, as I've said before, HUD is a whole different kind of animal when it comes to real estate. So not all title companies have experience working with HUD, and they do, as HUD does have very specific requirements of how they want certain forms and the HUD and settlement statements to be provided to them in certain timely deadlines. So definitely talk to your real estate agent about what title company you want to use, and if possible, talk to the title company beforehand yourself, or have your real estate agent talk to them and find out if they have experience working with HUD homes and if they are local in your area. Because the last thing that you want to do is have delays with your contract getting signed because the title company is not approved to work in your area or does not have experience with HUD homes, because that will definitely make the process a whole lot harder for you as the buyer. So of course, like with anything, if you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call anytime at 970-370-0135 or visit me on my website at bestlifere.com. Thanks for watching today, guys, and I hope you learned a little bit more about what the process of buying a HUD home entails. And be sure to be on the lookout for future videos and future webinars in the future. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a wonderful day.